Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Let's try to make Windows suck a bit less. And one way to do that is by using another default text editor than the built-in Notepad, because it is really bad. The ones that I have looked at right now, those are the Notepad and the Notepad++. It seems like that the Notepad is a bit more reactive and a bit more responsive than Notepad++. On the other side, it's like Notepad++ has been there for a longer time, and it's also more popular. But the way to install it is to use Windows Scoop. If you haven't got Scoop already, then watch my video on how to get Scoop and how to use Scoop. It's quite easy. You just write Scoop and then install either extras Notepad or ++, or maybe both if you want to. I'm always a bit worried about how safe these tools are when they're not, when it's not like official versions and when there's no big company behind it, and when the number of contributors are actually quite small to these projects right here, then it's of course you should always be careful. And there was actually a security breach in Notepad++ at some point. I don't think there was any harm done, but there's an article about it out on the internet. Feel free to read about it. But it should be fixed now if you get the latest and greatest Notepad++. On the other hand, they are actually updated quite often. You can see right here we have Notepad-. It was updated 18 days ago, and it's under the GNU license, so it's free. And Notepad++ was actually updated 11 days ago. So it is the software that is updated, and it's actually really cool to use. And that's exactly why I use it. And this is a demo of that. If you want to use it as your default Notepad, then you just go to Windows settings. You just search for default apps, and you can just search for it by pressing Windows once. Then you go for default apps, and then you search for then you end up right here. Then you can search for Notepad like this. Then just click Notepad, and here then you can choose either Notepad++ or minus, or whatever you feel like. Maybe you can also use a whole other text editor. There are many text editors out there, and you should definitely choose one which is not Notepad, because it is so bad. So what can what can Notepad do? It can actually do the same as Notepad++. It just seems a bit more responsive, I would say. And it's made for all of the operating systems of most. At least that's what they say. I've only tried it on Windows, I must say that, but they have some pretty cool plugins right here. For instance, let me just check right here. Our tools. Here we have these tools. We can actually base 64 encode something. So let's say hello world. Then I'm getting the base 64 encoded version down here in the bottom right here. Of course, it can be a bit difficult to read. I should maybe increase the font a bit, but Then let's say that you have a base 64 encoded string that you need to decode, and of course you can also choose decode. You just press the button decode, and then you paste in your base 64 encoded string, and then you get hello world out in this situation right here. You can also choose, because base 64 encoding it's not just one thing. You can also choose the URL version, where the URL was URL safe with the spacing and the and signs and all that, where it's more safe for URLs. Then you would choose that encoding instead. And I would actually recommend you to do that if it's something where you pass it as URL as part of the request parameter, for instance. Then you have to use the base 64 URL encoding. Okay, so far so good. What else can it do? You can instead of just opening one file, then you can actually open a directory. So you can say open directory like this, and And you can go to whatever folder that you need, and then you can press select, and you can open it up. And Notepad++, it's exactly the same, almost the same. Some of the tools are actually in different menus, and the base64 encoder, you actually have to use the editor itself. You have to type in the text in the editor itself, and then you have to mark it. Then you have to go to encoder, decoder, whatever you like. I actually feel that it's slightly better when you go to a separate menu, and then you can decode or encode up here. But Mike, you could also just use a terminal command in your git bash, for instance. Yes, I could also do that, but sometimes it's actually a bit faster just to press right here. There are just a lot of cool things inside this editor right here. You can also, of course, you can save the file into different encodings. And but Mike, why don't you just use IntelliJ for all of your stuff, or VS Code? They are slightly heavier to launch than that. This is just more lightweight. Of course, I like VS Code actually for lightweight stuff also, but this is it's incredibly fast. It just reacts right away because there's not a lot of weird stuff built into it. And it can also give us color. It can give us color syntax highlighting on a lot of languages, and the languages are kind of the same. It also includes Java and JavaScript, so it gives you a really good overview. I actually read I read on one of the forums that there was actually one guy, he actually used this for programming. I would not recommend that at all, but of course it is possible. You can also program in NeoVim or something like that. That is, I would say that it's actually better to code in that. But nowadays you need an IDE with some AI agent assistance, so you can be more productive, of course. But it is quite good. And right here we have the syntax highlighting. This is a markdown file, so that's why you see it like this. If I want to see the markdown final version, not just the codes, then I can actually go ahead and I can choose markdown view right here, and then I see the result right here. It's incredible what you can get for free. Yeah. You can also get it converted into HTML instead. This markdown, then you just choose markdown to HTML. Then you get the HTML version. And I don't want to save that. It also has support for, of course, bat files, shell scripts, etc., or color syntax highlighting. There's also a little bit code completion for some of the languages, but it's not much. If you go, for instance, to Java, then it doesn't know which libraries that you have or anything like that. So of course, then you would like to use IntelliJ for that, of course, instead. So let us just open a Java file just for fun. I have one right here. Here's my Java file. You can see that it's syntax highlighting is from one of my other demos, and of course right here I could write public, and then I actually get some. I even get some code completion. It's not much, and then we can say string. Yes, and then we can say hello. But if I make an error, something like that, then it doesn't compile it or anything like that. What else does it do? You can search through many files, and you can also run batch programs, and we can search through a lot of files and then we can replace strings, so we can find in dir right here. Then we can find a string like then we can replace it with something else. Ole. I can say replace in file, and I can also give the file types, and I can also say that I can make a regular expression for what I want to change. So it is actually quite powerful. Skip binary files, yes, thank you very much. Skip child, yes, also, yes. Skip big files. Another thing is really good at is actually large files. I downloaded the Canterbury. It's a test. It's some famous test files, and they're quite big. There's, for instance, that the Shakespeare script is actually right here. So if I double click right there, you will see it actually came right. It opened up right away, and there are like 4,000 lines in it. So it is really responsive. It just opens up, and I can go through all of the lines like this. So it is, yeah, it is actually really awesome. It's not slow or anything like that. And of course, there are a lot of settings. You can also record macros up here. If you record a macro start, record a macro. If I record something like this, test 1, 2, 3, 4, then I can stop my macro. The macro can do a lot of weird stuff, like go two down with the cursor and delete the one character. Then it would also then you could put that action into a system, so you continue using that. I'm just going to delete it right now. Then we can press play. So now it should do the same thing again. Yes. What happens if I record new macro that says hello? Then I go 3 down, stop recording. Press hello, and then it goes 3 cursor steps, 3 lines down. Okay, it's quite cool. It's awesome to automate tasks. Of course, limited automation right here. What else does it do? It does a lot of, yes, there's a cool compare actually. So we can compare directories, we can compare files. So let's say I have 2 files that I want to compile, to compare, then I would just do that. So let's say I want to compare build.gradle file in one project with my build.gradle file in another project. Then I get it right here, and I can actually merge it. So I can also use it as a merge tool if I want. If I want to, then I could actually set up Git to use Notepad -- or ++ to be the default Git to be the default merge tool, and then that would actually that would also work when there are merge conflicts. So let's say that I wanted some lines. Let's say I wanted this was the chunk that I want in the other file. Then I could press here. Then I can press there. So now I get a bit from both. And then I could merge the files. Of course, I'm not going to save this now. It's just going to be rubbish. But it also compares, and you can do merges. Of course, I'm not going to press save now. That would be really stupid. So let me just press the say discard. Do not save them. No, thank you. Discard. Then we go out here. You can also save. You can also compare directories. Regarding files. There are a lot of weird functionalities that I have not explored yet. But you can also set the fonts right here and the text. So here we can set the UI font. We can set it a bit larger, maybe 11. So now all of the fonts actually got slightly bigger. And what else should we do? Enable auto prompt. It's UTF-8. That's fine. Find option maximum. Yes. Okay. You can also count the word count right here. Of course. Then we got a line count and a word count. It's also nice. Then when your boss asks you, what did you do today? You can just say, I did 23,958 words, so I was very productive. Someone asked for that. It opens up all files. Of course, binary files doesn't make that much sense usually. That's actually, if you have any experience with Notepad -- or plus, or if you know something about how safe they are to use, then please leave a comment below. I know it's very popular. But besides that, then it just makes Windows suck a little bit less, because if you also use the one commander that I showed you last week, then you can actually say, then you can take any file and then you can right click and you can say now that's a link. Then you can say send to. You can open it as minus and as Notepad minus instead. Right now I still have this as Notepad right here. I would actually like to open it with something else. Let me just shift right click right here, send to. I cannot choose that one right here. Okay, I have to look into that one. Open file location. I have it right there. I can also just drag files over. So if I drag files over to Notepad, then they open up like that. So let me go back to, if I just find another file. What happens if I take a picture? What will happen then? Take a HTML file and XML file. Help empty file. Of course, those works. So that is quite cool. Yeah, it's just really useful. I don't have much more to say. So one commander plus Notepad minus or plus plus. It just, I think it makes Windows a bit less annoying. I really like Windows. It's a great operating system. And if I press Control Shift W right here, then it closes all of them. I say no, thank you to save any of them. It just makes it a bit nicer. And the reason why I like Windows is because all of the drivers are just really cool. So whenever you have a piece of software, it just works out of the box. You don't have to try to read up on how to hotfix some weird driver or how to get around some problem that I would usually experience with Ubuntu, for instance, or Linux Mint. But besides that, of course, if Linux Mint and Ubuntu, if they just worked with all of the drivers and all of the software that were made for it, then of course I would prefer actually those operating systems. But it just seems I waste less time on figuring something out with drivers when I'm on Windows. And if I really want to use Linux, then I can just use WSL, for instance, if I want to do some LLM training and if I want to use Llama or the Onslaught libraries, which uses a Unix timer function somewhere, then I can just use WSL, and then my Python scripts works fine. So yeah, Windows is the best choice for me, at least. I know there are a lot of opinions on that, so feel free to give me that in the comments. And thank you very much for all of your comments. Thank you very much for watching, and thank you very much for being who you are. Hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.